Hello my lovelies and welcome to Tuesday Sewing. So I've got 4 tags. Well, they're not tags really, they're flip ups. So for my design team project for July and August, because it's going to be a chunky journal, I'm doing around the world. And there's 4 signatures for the 4 main countries that I'm going to be covering, because they cover 4 main kits of traces, which we'll go into a bit more detail on Thursday. But I wanted to do a sewn flip for each of the signatures and for it to represent the country. So what I've got here is I've just laid them out. These aren't sewn. I'm just going to do one today to show you the sort of thing I'm thinking. This is some really old, I think it's hemp, something like that, and it got a great big border around it, so I cut some of that off so that I could give it a nice top. And I've got some of my here. So we used these yesterday, but some of my sewn tabs or labels or whatever you want to call them, and I've made a little design on here. So each of them have got 4 of the little labels, and then this one, this is for you representing United Kingdom. This one here is France. This one here is Japan, and I do apologise if this writing is upside down. And this one is Egypt. So I've this one anyway is out of a kit of traces anyway that I'm going to be using. I'm not sure I want her like that. I might have her in the middle. Don't know. And then what I've done with the others is some of the ephemera from Japan I've punched around, and some of the French kits I've punched around. And then of course I have used these before. Let me just, my embroidery scissors, I shouldn't be using them really, should I? It's just not cut it quite sharply. This one, Egypt. So that one is Egypt. So I thought I'd make a start. Now then, what I'm going to be using, going through today, I'm going to move these out of the way a bit because I'm not going to do all these on camera. I'm just going to do the one from Japan. And I thought that, seeing as it's Japan, I would use some very fine sashiko thread. I get this from Japan Crafts. It's gorgeous, gorgeous sashiko. Very fine. The sashiko is very fine thread because they do a lot of lines, intricate lines, and I have done a journal that's sold straight away featuring Japan. I'm going to do it double because I'm wanting to do some French knots in the middle of, I'm just going to borrow another clip, keep that in place, in the middle of this to look a bit like a flower. Now if you're doing French knots, one of the things to bear in mind, and I have done other videos with them on, but it is easy if you get the right needle for the job. Now, I've only just started treating myself to more expensive needles. But the thing you need is one where the eye is the same thickness as the stem of the needle, because you're going to be wrapping around and pulling through. So that sort of does help you a little bit. But I mean, I did them for years. I did them for years without a cheap set of needles. I'm only doing a wrap of 3 And let's see how it will be delicate, because as I say, it's Sashiko thread. So why's that left a little loose tail there? I'll have to cover that up, it'll annoy me. Oh, there we go. Really, if we're being purist, if we're being a purist embroidery, you're only really supposed to wrap around twice. So if you want larger, more chunky French knots, you really should alter the size of your needle and thread rather than wrapping round more. But you know, anything goes, and if you're doing impromptu embroidery, anything goes if you want to wrap it round loads of times. Now, there is such a thing as drizzle stitch, where it's where you can make drizzle loops, and you know, the idea is to wrap it round and get some of your the drizzle stitch is a bit like the trying to think what they call it when you get all the tufts coming out. I can't think now. You'll be shouting it at me because we did it with when they did Roxy's stitchery. Turkey work. Right. 3. Don't go down through the same hole, just go down to the side of it. I think I'm only going to get one more out of this thread. The other thing to bear in mind, if you're using very fragile, no, that would be too much, if you're using very fragile thread, say for example you're using ribbon or you're using say chenille, you don't cut too long strips, because it does start to get damaged, starts to get a little bit raggedy the more you go through. So I'm trying to be as neat as I can on the back, because we will be flipping the back up once it's in our journal. So I just want it to look as neat as I can. It doesn't have to look perfect, but I want it to look some semblance of order on back here instead of usual rat's nest. Okay. Now, I have got, now this is my Natalie Stewart. So I do get a lot of stuff from Natalie Stewart. She hand dyes embroidery threads. So it's nataliestewart.co.uk. I'm going to get another, but this is the Sashiko that I'm using. I've just put it in there, but it is from Japan Crafts. They have some fabulous fabric in Japan Crafts as well. But this variegated is lovely. Right, I'm just going to put a different variation of colour in the middle here. So hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a good start to your week. I'm really excited about this this new project, and it's 3 of the kits I've already got and used for other things. So it's again going back to how you can utilise different kits for different projects. You know, you want to get the most money out of them. You want to get your money's worth. You don't just want to print them once and that's that. You know, there's so many things you can do with your printables. So I just want to give you some more ideas with this Round the World journal. So, okay then, so I finished those French knots in the middle, and I've decided that I'm just going to round the top and the bottom of this to do 5 bullion knots. So if you recall, another one of my favourites, another one of my fave stitches. So put your needle through, come out near the top here, and then wrap around one, as many times as you want really, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm doing 8 on this one. And then you slowly push them off your needle. Slowly push them off your needle. Okay, and then you're going to you hold those knots in place, and you just carefully bring your needle and thread forward and just pull the knots gently, and then take a stitch through to the back. Okay, so we'll just do that one more. So take a stitch there, through there and back to where you started. You wrap around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because that's just what I'm doing. Okay, slowly, and this is where it's easier if you've got a needle that's fit for purpose, because your needle is the same width at the eye end and it slips off. If it's wider, then sometimes you can have difficulty slipping if you're doing bullion knots, trouble with them. So we've got all those knots to the end. Bring it over a bit like a cantilever, as if you're pulling a lever over, and just gently tug until they're nice, neat and tightened. Now you can use them if you want them. In this case I want them straight, but if you want it to have a bit like you can do them over the edge of something, you can, and not pull it quite so tight, and then you've got these raised areas, and I like to do that as edging. But for this particular purpose, for the Japanese flip, sewn flip, I want them straight. So that is there. Now, because we are struggling for long videos, because we're still having the internet problems here, that's why I'm only going to show you this one. Okay, so that's those in place there. Got a bit of a thread coming up here, don't want. Okay, so I don't want them to be over sewn. I want them to be quite simple in the design. So I just want to do a bit of something. I've already started doing some, I've done some cross stitch across there, and I'm going to do some over wrap around at the top. So I'm just thinking what I'd like to put on here, and I'm thinking that let's have a look what we've got in here. Something that might have got a nice bluey green. This is very fine as well, from no, I want it thicker than that, I think. I'm not going to use that. Let me have a look in my ordinary, in my 6 strand. So we've got that there. I think we'll have a bit of, we have some gold. We'll have a bit of this. So I'm going to use 6 strands, so I'm not going to split it. Now then, I need to swap my needle now, because this is too fine for 6 strands. So this is where it helps if you start having a few different. If you want to know all the different needles and what they're used for, there's a really good video that Ariane Zersha's done that shows you the type of needles that are good to use and for what. It's worth you checking that out. Right, okay, so I've got a bigger eyed needle now. And this is like, I'm going to do a bit of like a haystack. I'm only going to do one in the middle. So you do 3. You can do these in different, I have done them before, and you can use beads. I'm not putting beads on today. So you do 3 different lines. Okay. And then you come up at the side of this end one, and you go underneath it, over the top of this one, under that one, move it up to the middle. Now this is when you'd put your bead on. So you'd put your bead on it and put your bead right to the end, and then pull it over here. Again, you want to go under, over the middle one and down through your fabric. And that pulls it all together. Now, I know what I've done. I've done it. It wants to go to this side of that fabric. So under there, and then it, right, okay. It's looking a bit more like a spider. Okay, so we've got this. Let me just unthread that. 'Cause that's it, okay. So we've got those 3, okay, and what you do then is you go under this one, and down, that's this side to the right hand side, and pull it across. That's too tight. Look, can you see how tight it is? Go. Now we could have put a bead on there if we'd have wanted, but I'm happy with that. Just to give another marking. With it being the Japanese, I thought that represents that the sort of markings you get in Japanese. So let me just tie that off now. Okay then, so that's all I'm going to do. It's got a little bit of a fringe at the bottom, which I like. I shall carry on with this. I've just got it clipped on. I shall carry on. I'm just going to over sew this on those sides, just so we've got this nice topper on it. And to me, that's enough. I feel that this is, the simplicity of it is what I like. And that's all I'm going to do with the others. So with the others, I'll do some other stitches, but they're all going to have the French knots in the middle and then something different on there. And you will then put it on your page and you glue down, and then you just lift this flap up and you can do some secret journaling underneath. So there we are. That's my video for today. I'm trying to keep them short and sweet, as I say, because of the internet problems, but hope that's given you some inspiration to make some sewn fabric flips yourself. I mean, we're all used to cutting out pieces of pattern material and making fabric flips with those, but I thought it'd be nice just to put a little bit of individuality onto it, and and because I'm doing the round the world for my design team project for Tracie Fox Creative, I thought we'd start today with my Japanese offering. So thank you so much for joining me. Please comment down below. Yeah, there's less and less people putting comments now. Please, I love chatting with everybody. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I'll see you again next video. Bye for now.